Hey friends, welcome back to the show. Today I had Emilie Toups on the podcast. If you are one of our female listeners, you might even be familiar with Toups Co, which is her brand. Beautiful, aesthetic, and health promoting, mostly tallow-based products. Super simple, super nourishing. And what I really appreciated about Emilie's message is this wasn't a podcast just pitching her products. We talked really about why this came to be. Why did she create Toups Co? And it was because of a need for health promoting skincare products and makeup. The fact that if you look at the ingredients list on what's on the supermarket shelves, it's 20 plus ingredients, things you can't pronounce, and they cause damage. They cause damage to our endocrine system and our skin. So we talk about the solution to that and their products, but we also talk about so much more. Eating your skincare, eating your sunscreen, the dangers with some of the conventional means there, how important diet is, how she finds balance as a mom of 5, homeschooling and running a ranch and all kinds of crazy stuff. Really fun, really interesting conversation. And if you're somebody that's using conventional skincare, you need to listen to this show because you might be surprised at some of the harms that might be causing. So let's dive in. Emilie, welcome to the show. I'm just going to get right stuck into it. How did you arrive at building a business of telling women to put beef fat on their face? What's the story?
It's a really great story. The company was born out of just not being satisfied. They're petroleum-based products. Our oldest daughter struggled with just, pretty severe eczema. And so, as a mom, you just kind of start researching all the things and not being satisfied with what they say is something she'll grow out of or something that she needs a prescription for. So I was just doing a lot of research and I came across the tallow and, it was suet and all these things. And I just called up a local farmer and asked for some. And that was kind of the very beginning of learning about tallow and understanding how it worked and what it was for the skin, way back then, and just discovering how amazing it was and all the great things that it did for us really was like the catalyst of how that company was born.
I love it. I've heard you say in the past we should eat our skincare or feed our skin. So what is it in tallow that you're learning that's so amazing about that? How does that actually work?
Well, tallow is very rich in vitamins A, D, E, and K, and those are fat-soluble vitamins. They're naturally occurring in the tallow. So that means that they're more bioavailable than like lab-made vitamins and other things found in kind of more traditional or, skincare that you can find on the shelf. And specifically, vitamin A is in tallow, and we know that because we eat, grass-fed beef, and we want to eat the fat that goes with it to get that natural retinol internally. But it's also very bioavailable in the tallow. So I'm a big advocate for both internal and external. We definitely want to be eating our skincare. We want to be eating, animal fats and things rich in those vitamins, but applying it externally also is super beneficial for the skin. It's very bioavailable. It's anti-inflammatory. And so when you are having skin issues, eczema and things like that, those antioxidants work to moisturize the skin, but also fight inflammation.
Hmm.
And so, we're taking it internally, but we're also feeding our skin externally as well.
What I think's really interesting about the taking it internally point is, and you'd be able to speak to this more, but I feel like I see a lot of messaging around skincare, and it's the whole greenwashing. It's always plant-based, this, that, and the other. It's very vegan. It's very trendy and sexy in that way. And here you are talking about internally ingesting things like organically pasture-raised meats and vitamin A. And I've heard you talk in the past about raw milk and things like that. What's it like to just kind of push back a little bit against the prevailing narrative that healthy is purely plant-based, including our skincare and our diet?
Well, as you know, vegan is like the slogan on every skincare that you see anywhere, and we still have customers ask, is it vegan? And I was like, I think you've come to the wrong place. Um, but when we really started investigating, her skin and our health in general, before even skincare, we initially started with our food. And that's what made us question the narrative and want, something better for better health. And so, we really went down the rabbit hole of like selling everything we had, buying this farm, and producing food, for both for our kids and for ourselves for health. And that was the very first step. We did GAPS diet with her
Hmm.
and focused very heavily on, a lot of broth and pasture raised meats and egg yolks and raw milk and all the things. And we saw obviously almost immediate relief just from that. But that last thing, when we added in the tallow externally, plus we were really nourishing her gut and her body internally as well as ourselves. That is, those two things together is what really was like that point where we were like, wow, we were seeing results. We were really excited. And I think that is when other people were like, what did you do? How, because they were seeing her skin, and I was getting a lot of comments and opinions from everyone. They were like,
Hmm.
oh, well, maybe you should not feed her rice cereal. You should feed her oat cereal and all these things. And we kind of just bucked all of it. And we're like, we're going to go and nourish her body from the inside out as well as on the outside.
I love that perspective. And I think that something that speaks a lot through that message is it's a lot of the addition of nutrient dense products for the skin and for the microbiome. And it's a lot of the removal of the things that are causing the issues in the first place. And I love that you guys just went all in. You were like, all right, screw it. We're buying a farm. We're going for this thing. And it's usually the place where people start in health, right, is with the food, because it's obviously such a big thing. But you said maybe that took you 80% of the way there or 90% of the way there. And then it was also nourishing the skin. So with that, when we're removing things that are problematic from a diet perspective, that might be the seed oils or the non-organic gluten-containing grains, high fructose corn syrup, the whole rigmarole. What about the skincare aspect of that? What are we actually removing when we take away conventional products and then replacing it with things from Toups?
Well, so the EWG came out with a study, and they said that the average woman puts 12 products with more than 168 chemicals on their body every morning. And this is the average woman.
Damn.
And many of those chemicals are hormone disrupting. So we think of this one-off, a perfume or something that is very obvious that it's toxic. But when you're putting all these things on your body, you're doing it 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And that toxic load over that long period of time and then over many years is really substantial. And so, I like people to think about the products that they're putting on their skin and look at the back of the ingredient list and really understand what those ingredients are and why they're in the products, and then compare them to something that is not full of all those ingredients. And it's an immediate adjustment in how you feel, especially in deodorant. People often ask me, like, if I could choose one product, like I just want to start really slow and I want to pick one product to change. First and foremost, I'll always say deodorant, because one, is directly next to our lymph nodes, both men and women. And because it's full of hormone disruptors, we've got prevalent cases of hormone-based cancers in women, like breast cancer and things like that. And we're putting toxic chemicals on our armpits every single day. And it's one of the things that, if you're like not going to wear makeup today or you're not going to do your skincare, everybody's putting deodorant on every single day. That's one
Mm-hmm.
of the things that you don't forget. And so I think it's one of the most important things to start if you're going to replace a product.
Yeah, I thought about that a lot because I grew up in Europe, and it's very common in Europe to have the spray the deodorants, and they're really high in aluminium, as we call it, and you guys call it aluminum, but they still have that in the roll-ons and the sticks and things like that. And just thinking about that now, knowing what I know, that you can put a nicotine patch on the skin and the nicotine will end up in your body, and you could do magnesium on your dermis and it will go into your body. Now, like, oh yeah, it's probably not a good idea to be leaching heavy metals into your skin and all these other things, the hormone disrupting chemicals, etc. Like, we've talked a lot about deodorant here and skincare, but I also want to focus on makeup, because I want to know, like, just how bad is conventional makeup?
Conventional makeup is full of heavy metals and lead and a lot of things. And because it's so unregulated in the US and is a little more regulated in Europe, but still, when American companies say that, oh, we meet European standards, it's better. there's still not a lot of testing for some of these heavy metals that we're putting on our bodies every day, in our eyes, around our,
Hmm.
in our mouth. I read a study, and I'm not recalling it exactly, but I want to say a woman who wears lipstick every single day has ingested like 12 pounds of lipstick over their lifetime,
Wow.
or something like that. And when you at the lead content of the colorants and things that are in these products, and that we're ingesting that, our body can do a really good job of filtering that out. And there are some chemicals that are like transient chemicals that are in out. When you're stopping using those products, those chemicals are gone. But there's a lot of things that are forever chemicals that
Mm,
are staying in our body over the long haul, and especially young girls are starting to use makeup younger and younger. There is so much pressure on them to look older, and then for older women to look younger.
mm,
And so they're using more makeup than we did when we were younger, and definitely our parents. And so they're using more products, and exposed to even more toxins at even a younger age, especially when they're coming into their fertility years, and they're using phthalates, which are disrupting their hormones, and they're using makeup that's has lead and other heavy metals in it. And the body can only detox so much. Our detox pathways are amazing, and the human body is so amazing at healing itself and regenerating. But when you pair a substandard diet with all of these chemicals that we're putting on our body every day, we're just seeing an epidemic of young girls who are struggling with hormone issues, who are struggling with fertility. And I just think that it's so sad. And my mission at Toups, and the mission of Toups itself is, first and foremost, to provide products that are clean and safe. But the second time is just to educate the public on, why even is that not safe, or why is
hmm
it bad, or it's on the grocery store shelf and it's in all these stores. And so it can't be that bad. And
hmm
that is kind of the general consensus. But when they realize that the makeup industry and the skincare industry is completely unregulated, and, owning a skincare company, we are completely unregulated. And so we, put certified organic products and ingredients in our products. And, but that doesn't mean the next person is. And, there's so much greenwashing, like the word vegan or the word non-toxic. And it's really hard to navigate, but education around flipping that product over and being able to read the ingredients, and, teaching our younger generation what to look for, what ingredients they want to see or don't want to see, is just so important, so that their future and their children can just have the knowledge to know that those products don't need to go in our body. They're not safe, because there's not a whole lot of education around that. And so
hmm
they just don't know any better, especially like my daughter, as she started getting a little older and she's looking for a lip gloss or something. And I'm looking at the ingredients on here, and I'm just baffled or blown away by what's in the products and marketed to young children.
It's such an important point, and I think this education piece is everything. It like connects the dots of helping people understand the potential dangers, and I think a lot of that somewhat is like felt first and then understood later. What might be some of the things that the average woman or the average teenager might be feeling that could potentially be tied to the toxic load that's occurring through the skincare?
I like to tell people that just because it's common does not mean that it's normal.
Hmm.
And I think that it's very common for young girls, especially, to have really difficult menstrual cycles and a lot of pain and headaches. And they're popping ibuprofen and Tylenol, together,
Hmm.
because they're dealing with that. And that was something that I really dealt with, was, having those issues that I just thought that was part of life. They were normal, headaches, normal. But when you start to remove all the toxins, and it's kind of like peeling the layers off of an onion, because it is very difficult to go cold turkey and kind of do it all at once. But
Hmm.
as you incorporate the food and you take away the toxins, and you start to realize that, wow, I'm not having those symptoms anymore, is just incredible. I like to give the instance of my sister. She's 11 years younger than me. And so I had the incredible opportunity to have gone through a lot of things and learned a lot of lessons and able to share them with her before she gets to that point in her life. And she was dealing with really difficult menstrual cycles, really bad acne, and, wanting to make a change and kind of feeling like I don't really know where to start. And so I started, educating her on the products that she was using, both skincare, menstrual products, the food that they were eating. And as she started to make changes, all of those symptoms went away. And
Mm-hmm.
it was just amazing to her. And even still, though I already know, I have this information, I have the knowledge, it's still amazing to me that she's got beautiful, clear skin. She is drinking all the raw milk and using Toups products and, having a healthier home. She recently got married and was, looking at organic sheets, and we were able to have this conversation together. But it was apparent to me, because I made the change for my daughter. A lot of people won't make a change for themselves, but they will for their
Mm-hmm.
kids. But to see her make those changes and really see amazing results, further gives me just an excitement to share and educate other people as well.
Yeah, it's really empowering. We feel the same way a lot of the times, even though we know this stuff logically around the diet and the lifestyle. Still, when you see somebody break through and massively change their health and lose X amount of weight or reverse an autoimmune condition or something, it's just like, yes, because they did it. Kind
Right.
of, the odds were stacked
Yeah.
against them, like you said. And I would say maybe even more so for women, because whilst all humans are dealing with this sick curse system and our gross food and all of that stuff, most men, and I mean, I want to talk about this because I do want to get men interested in healthier skincare, but most men aren't at least dealing with more of the lotions and potions and the makeup, because it's just kind of not what they're doing. So at least they're removing the burden of that. So I'm with you. It's so inspiring, and stories are ultimately how we get here. I'm sure when you went down this rabbit hole, it was because you heard a story of somebody going paleo or something, and it just becomes then our mission, right? To create better products if there's a gap in the market for that. So I think it's really cool. But I wanted to circle back to something that you said that I think is so important, and something when I was researching Toups, I really appreciated on your blog and on your social media. I appreciated this almost minimalistic approach to skincare and makeup. And you said that there's a lot of pressure on younger girls to look older and older women to look younger. And I'm curious how you've kind of conceptualized and baked that into the cakes of Toups marketing in terms of like, less is more almost. It seems from the outside looking in, at least. It's not this crazy 12-hour skincare routine to go out on a Friday night and it's natural. Talk to me a little bit about the philosophical or conceptual framing around that.
Well, I really believe that when you're taking care of your body inside and outside, that your natural beauty is just going to shine through. Your skin's going to look healthy, and that is beautiful. And I just love the way wisdom looks on a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so as they age gracefully and healthily, it's incredibly beautiful. And, having a little fine lines and things that what a honor it is to be able to grow older and get those fine lines
Mm-hmm.
and lines from laughing and things like that. And so we kind of like, incorporate that into our marketing. And so like my mother is 61, and she's been very minimalistic her whole life. And she doesn't wear any makeup. And I just think that she's so beautiful
Mm-hmm.
in the lines that she has and how she looks. And we've tried to incorporate that into Toups and explain that while it isn't really important to take good care of your skin, there's no like 12-step routine that looks like, came out of a chemical lab
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. But, just cleansing off our external environmental toxins that we're going to be encountering throughout the day. Um, Nourishing our skin with tallow, maybe some toner in there to, kill any bacteria that's in our pores
Mm.
is really all you need. And so people ask often, like, can I use the tallow around my eyes? Do you have an eye cream? I was like, the best eye cream that you could be using is the tallow. It can go everywhere because it's safe. It's not like we need to avoid the eye area because, it's sensitive. But we want, because it's so good, we want to put that on those areas. And, and even for young girls, teach them how to take care of their skin in a holistic way is going to keep their skin looking amazing all the way, into their more mature years. And that's all that's needed. It's pretty simple, not a lot of steps. And we believe that that's the most beautiful way to be.
Yeah, I would concur. And I think it's interesting. Obviously, I'm a man and this is the male perspective here, but I think my wife looks the most beautiful when she's just naturally letting her health and vibrance shine through. And what you see, particularly in kind of social media land and such, is I'm not sure if you're familiar with the term filter dysmorphia or Snapchat dysmorphia. It's kind of emerging as a scientific phenomenon now where women are so used to adulterating their faces with Snapchat filters and then trying to reconcile the apparent gap when they look at themselves in the mirror saying, wow, I don't look like the filter. So what I'm going to do to fix that is get fillers and Botox, and I'm going to put a pound of makeup on my face every day. And you have to wonder then, what the skin condition and the health and all of the other associated problems with that down the line will be, as opposed to somebody that takes the more natural route and actually just has vibrancy and health that comes through more naturally. And I think that's just tricky because it's going to be a combination of both things: better products like you provide with Toups, better messaging, and a healthy pushback to, hey, we don't all need to look like a Snapchat doll.
Absolutely. And, when we do our marketing, the very first big marketing photo shoot that we did, I had the photographer come back and ask me some things, how do you like these photos? And do you want me to touch this up? And we were like, no, no, we want these women to look the way they look because we think they're beautiful the way they are. And, really pushing that messaging out. And at the same time, realizing that, not everybody has seen the photos and things from Toups, and there's so much on the internet that is, targeted at women to look a certain way. And you see all these, influencers and people that are on social media, and they're getting Botox so young. And I guess I was, I have 5 children, so I'm a little removed from all of the social media and influencers and things like that. But when I do see it, one, I'm baffled, and two, I'm sad for our younger generation. And I think that as parents and educators, that we just need to do a really great job of explaining that that's not normal and that's not what people look like. And, I had a woman here yesterday at my house, and we were just exchanging some things and talking about the farm and gardening and things. And she's probably in her late 70s. And I just think that she was one of the prettiest women that I've ever met. And so I was asking her a little bit about her skin. Hey, what's your skincare look like throughout your life? And she's like, oh, I use pig lard when we would butcher our pigs. And I was like, okay. And she didn't really know my story.
Wow.
And so I was like, that's exactly, that's exactly what I do for a living. And, she mentioned the sun and loves the sun, and she's out, and we're so afraid of the sun's rays. We want to cover our skin with sunscreens and things like that. But this woman who's older has eaten a pretty decent diet throughout her life and lived on a farm and got a lot of sun exposure, just had such a beautiful look about her, and really just portraying that to the rest of people who are because they're watching us as a skincare brand, and what are we saying, and what kind of media are we putting forth, and definitely want to just align with natural is beautiful.
Yeah, I'm very glad you brought up the sun, because
The sun.
from the dermatology lens, the sun is pretty much the worst thing you could do for your skin, right?
So bad. Yeah.
I've even seen advice. I've seen influencers talking about wearing sunscreen indoors if they work in buildings with like large glass windows, because the UVA can still get through and this will age your skin. And meanwhile, again, yes, they're caked in makeup, so it's interesting, right, that they don't mind that aging the skin. But I love that you said that these examples. I've heard you talk about in the past. You're a bit of a sun worshiper too, as are we. We love this stuff. But how do you kind of push back against that and just explain? And I've also heard you say eat your sunscreen. So I'm very happy you brought this up, and I'm just curious on your philosophy around sensible, safe sun exposure.
Well, obviously, over a sun exposure can be damaging, but we absolutely love the sun. We get as much sun as we possibly can. But I have noticed, when we were eating a very standard American diet to the way we live now, which is, plenty of healthy animal fats and retinol and vitamin A. And we just don't burn like we did
Hmm.
before. And so my husband is a lot more fair than I am. And so at first he was like, well, he had this mentality of, well, I grew up very fair and
Hmm.
I burn really easy or I freckle a lot. And to see the diet change and the change in the way we respond to the sun, it's incredible. It's unmistakable. And so showing people and giving that education on eating your sunscreen, you definitely get a little pushback on it. It's definitely against what the narrative. It's so different, and it's almost scary. Like I'm going
Hmm.
to damage my skin if I do that. But um, as you know, eating the sunscreen is just so important and getting enough retinol and magnesium at the same time.
Mm.
And then going in the sun is just so good and so healthy. It brings up those vitamin D levels. You just feel good.
Yeah.
And my kids, I don't think they don't wear sunscreen at all. If we're in the sun, and we live at the beach, and so we are, just a hop, skip, and a jump away from the Gulf Coast. And so we spend a lot of time in the summer at the beach. And that is the time where people are like, well, I'm going to make an exception for this really intense sun at this time. But we pop us a tent. We put on long sleeves if we
Hmm.
think we're getting too much sun exposure, and we don't need sunscreen, and we're still able to get all the really wonderful health effects from the sun. And I can't say that I'm seeing a lot of sun damage on
Yeah.
my own face, because I was like, well, maybe in a couple years I'll notice, still being a little skeptical of it. I'm not going to wear the sunscreen, but if I get sun damage and all the things, well, that's just part of it. But I haven't noticed that.
Yeah.
And so you don't see that sun damage when you have enough nutrients internally.
It's been very similar to my experience too. As you can see, like fair skin, I'm a giant walking freckle in the summer, ginger beard. So I had a propensity to burn a lot when I was growing up. We used to go to Spain. I'd remember these like rite of passage sunburns on my shoulders, so painful, but I was eating junk. And now it's like I would have to try really hard to get burned. I mean, I'm sure I could do it
Right.
if I spent, 10 hours a day outside in Mexico sun or something like that. But it's just so much
Yes.
different now with the eating your sunscreen. And I love that you said just listen to the innate wisdom of the fact that it feels good to be in the sun. Like go lie down in the sun. It feels amazing. There's an old saying that nobody's depressed at the beach, right? Because you're
That's
grounded, you've got
right.
the ocean, you've got the sunshine. But I do know that you've kind of also tried to bring a solution to this problem that is sunscreen, because you do have a sunscreen product that's either in production or it's already out. So where did you
It
see
is
the
out.
issues with conventional sunscreens, and now what are you doing to give a more natural option?
So we're using tallow mixed with a non-nano zinc oxide, which is
Nice.
not inherently a sunscreen, but more like a sunblock.
Hmm.
And so it's for your face if you know that you're going to be out in the sun. And I definitely saw a need in the market for people who maybe their diet isn't optimal and they know they're going to burn if they're going to be out there, and they're going to be out in the sun. It's an easy way, very non-toxic, to block the sun from certain parts of the body so that they don't get burned, at the same time while encouraging sun exposure and healthy and safe sun exposure.
Very good. Very cool. I'm coming back now to, we've talked about teens and we've talked about adults. I also want to talk about babies. It's kind of what got you in here, right? Your child's having skin issues. Do you see a lot of moms come in to you for products for baby skincare? And do you actually have targeted baby products as well?
We do. We make a baby wash and then a tallow balm that's got, the most gentle essential oils for
Mm.
babies. And so people often ask us, about washing their children and what that looks like. And I really believe that we have probably one of the most minimal ingredient baby washes that are on the market. And we've recently come out with a men's body wash as well that's super similar, because people were asking us, can I use this on myself? It says baby on it. I was like, our whole entire family uses it. So
Hmm.
absolutely. And, baby skin is so delicate. They don't need very much. I
Hmm.
don't even recommend bathing with soap, at every bath. Water is plenty good. And when, they're extra dirty, and we live on a farm, so there are lots of opportunities for them to get extra dirty. Uh, Using either a tallow-based soap bar or a really gentle baby wash is, the perfect solution for those times.
Love that. Yeah, we do similar. We have a little homestead, so there's plenty of opportunities to get filthy dirt, and we do much the same things. You know, just a good old wash with clean water, and then my wife uses tallow on the baby, and it works for all of the family. We all love those kind of
Yes.
balms. You mentioned men. I'm glad you did. Are you seeing it? Because I know you're predominantly targeted at women's, but are you seeing more men come to the scene when it comes to maybe more of this meat pilled crowd of like, oh, I'm down to put some pig fat or tallow on my face. And what do you think
Yeah.
men could be paying attention to a little bit better? Because we are kind of guilty of not doing much. We just kind of I don't care about that stuff, but it can go a long way. So what can you do there as a man? Do you think?
I think that the men were really trying to get away from fragrances. That's probably the
Mm,
most toxic thing that they're exposed to. And in the beginning, I think it was a lot of women asking for products for their men. And now we're seeing men reach out and ask for products for themselves. And can I use, this or that? And we have a tallow-based shave soap, and my husband, I used him as kind of the guinea pig for that. And does it have enough slip? Does it have some clay in there? And he did a lot of testing on soaps for us, but definitely dropping your traditional shaving cream
mm-hmm.
and just get a good old-fashioned, brush, a shave brush, foaming up the soap and applying that is all that you need. He tops it off with the tallow. He's like, I can't go anywhere without my frankincense balm. And so
Mm-hmm.
I know that if we're traveling or we're not at home, and I travel very minimally, I'm like, did you bring a tallow balm? And he's like, of course, I can't live without it. So we do have a pretty decent selection for men of like a body wash to get rid of especially for teens,
Mm,
because those young boys, they want to use, super strong smell. You walk in and they're like spray themselves 5 times. And, it's beautiful packaging because that's what they want. They want to feel like they've got this manly product, and a good body wash, a shave soap with a brush, and just some good old fashioned tallow to top it off is a great, regimen for men. And at the same time, they feel like they have, something that they can replace, or women, when they're wanting to replace their husband's products, they can slip one of them out and put a better option in there. And so, yeah, it's just as important for men. They may use less products, but still using things that are toxin free and non-fragranced are really important.
love that. Yeah. And that lesson of less is more kind of shines through again. I know the Axe body sprays and the cologne
Yeah.
is every teenager's regimen. And we can get kind of stinky. So you want to mask the musk, but also let those pheromones fly, fellas. Just a little enhancement, a bit of tallow, some essential oils. You can't go far wrong with that. So I like that. It's very cool. I'm curious, the continuing deep dive in the rabbit hole of something like skincare just starts to extend into every area of your life, right? When you think about food, and then you think about skincare, then you think about water, then you think about the clothes that you wear, and on and on and on it goes. Now, I know you guys don't specialize in haircare and things like that, but does this even extend like these similar kind of chemicals and endocrine disrupting things? Are they in our shampoos? Are they in our bars of soap in the shower, the conditioners, that stuff too?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely recommend finding like fragrance-free hair care. Drop the sulfates in shampoos and things like that. Drop the silicones in conditioners, and look for just the most minimal ingredient hair care, because you are going to see like all of that buildup from all of those toxic products kind of make its way out of your hair. And you just realize that, wow, like our natural hair is shiny and
Mm-hmm.
healthy. And back to eating for health, as you're eating better and you're really consuming enough animal fats and you're getting vitamin A and retinol and things like that, you're gonna have beautiful shiny hair and see health come, in skin and hair and nails and all the things. So for sure, dropping the toxins in all areas of your life. And I'm glad you brought up water, because water is really important too.
Mm-hmm.
We might drop all of the toxins in our skincare and in our body products, but we aren't filtering our water, or all these things are in the shower, and we're breathing them in. And so definitely recommend shower filters and other things if you're on conventional like city water, so that you're not getting the chlorine and the chloramines and all of these things
Mm-hmm.
that, we might be taking it out of our skincare and think we're doing so good, but there's a lot of facets to it. And so, like I said before, just peeling the onion off one layer at a time. And diving into the next thing and, making those small changes, you see such dramatic results when you look over a longer, span of time.
Hmm.
So from when we first started, maybe 12 years ago, our health at that time, and I was on thyroid medications and then so tired and just really struggling in my health to now, we had one child then and now we have five. So I should be more tired now than I was then, but just experiencing really good health over the years, it takes some time sometimes
Yeah.
to see all of that play out in your life. And now, looking back over the years, we can really see the difference in our health from then to now. And whenever the doctor was like, "Oh, you're going to be on this thyroid medication for the rest of your life," and I was there's nothing else that I can do. Like, I'm
Mm.
going to have to take this forever. Yeah, yeah, I'm going to take it forever. And I quit taking it cold turkey one year when I couldn't find it anymore. Like it wasn't available in the pharmacy. And I was like, you know what? Forget it. We had just moved to the farm. I was eating good food. And I was like, I'm just going to see
Hmm.
how life is without it. And I've never taken it again since and have just experienced such renewed health in the years after that, really focusing on why non-toxic is so important and in all the areas of our life. And that includes stress as well
Yes.
is just mitigating so much and this a lot of stress is just pressure, what you think other people think, or
Mm.
pressure to be this or this mom or this person in business or this kind of entrepreneur, and letting all of that just kind of go and focusing just on you and your family and what's most important to you, and dropping all that external stress. Sometimes the stress of worrying what we're going to eat and what products we're going to use and all these things, it can seem really overwhelming,
Mm.
but deciding to like make one change at a time and continuing to do that over the course of time and the years, and dropping the stress and all the pressure that comes with that, because that can be really detrimental as well. I think that stress is one of those toxins that we
Mm.
forget to mention when we're like taking all the things away, because sometimes it can be, more toxic to our health than some of the things that we're doing on a daily basis. So I wanted to bring that up to people that are listening, that not to be stressed out about making those changes and just making a resolution to doing better going forward.
I think
No better, do
that's
better.
Yeah, I think that's a profound point, and it can feel really overwhelming, like you said, because the onion that you're talking about peeling is ginormous. And if you look at the whole thing and you're like, how am I going to address this? It's just completely baffling. You get analysis paralysis. You have guilt that you're not further along. You have shame that you didn't know better. And I'm seeing a trend online where people are actually saying, you know what's been one of the best things for my health is to stop consuming health content, because what it's doing is just
Exactly.
highlighting the gap of where I am versus where I want to be. And now I'm stressing out about things. So I love this approach of do one thing at a time. Think about the big rocks and stack those and let it unfold naturally as it will. And your story is really empowering in that sense, because you're kind of going against the grain of what should be happening. Like if you were on thyroid medication, you should still be on it. Now you're a mom of five, you should be just drove into the ground, stressed out of your goddamn mind, absolutely tired and
Right.
exhausted, aging rapidly, your hair's falling out, you're going great, and all of a sudden you're saying, actually, no, you know what? I'm aging, I'm getting better, I'm getting healthier, I'm learning these things. So we've talked about some of the big rocks here. Obviously, you're dialed in with your nutrition, you're dialed in with your skincare, you're thinking about these things. What are some of the other things, like even, the conceptual framework of managing stress? How? Like, what are some of your other habits? Like, what do you do? What's some of the other things that you like to lean into that keep you healthy holistically?
Well, I think that, okay, when I think about my day and how I start the day, and especially in the entrepreneur world, there's a lot of pressure to like get up before your kids, and you get all this time in. And I actually don't do that. I don't set an alarm, wake up when the sun comes up, wake up when my kids get up, and start the day with them instead of that phone immediately in your
Mm.
face and all these emails and this to-do list, and kind of waking up without that initial like you get this rise of adrenaline, like, oh, I know everything that I have to do today, and it seems like a lot. But we kind of wake up, we do our nursing breakfast routine, and then once everybody's settled, I'm like, okay, now do have things that are waiting on me, and it's important to make time for them. But blocking out the day is kind of how my husband and I work together. We sync our schedules. I live and die by my schedule so that I don't overschedule
Mm.
myself. And that means in the stage of life that we're in, we have five kids, 12 and under. that we just say no to a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something I had to learn to do, was just to say no. I felt like at one point I wanted to say yes to things. I wanted to go to this event or that or be there, and just saying no to all the things so that we have so much more time at home, because prioritizing food for us, especially for how many people as we're feeding, does take up a lot of time, but it's really important for us.
Mm-hmm.
So the more time that we have at home, and that means saying no to some things or prioritizing what's really important to us, just is so less stressful because we're not go, go, go on the road. As you see, this is our homeschool room behind me. We're home because we're homeschooling and we're homesteading. And so we're out in nature and just spending time outside in
Mm-hmm.
nature. That's probably, I guess, my top one, is anytime that I'm feeling that rise of stress and, deadlines are coming up, is just to take a little walk outside, breathe in the fresh air. And, we live in a climate that's easy to do that. And I realize
Mm-hmm.
that that's not easy for everyone, but um, even getting out in the snow, if it was snowing
Mm-hmm.
outside. Our marketing manager lives in Breckenridge and it's super high elevation. They have a lot of snow. And she's like, I just get out in the snow, grounding my feet, in my wool socks, and spending some time outside is super important. So starting my day off slow is probably, top of my list. And then getting outside every single day is important as well.
Love it. I think the art of living slow in a very fast world is so important because, like you said, you could just think of the overwhelming list of to-dos you probably have over the course of a day. And if you just look at that and then get busy immediately, it's overwhelming and you're going to get them done. But how can you do them with as much presence and less stress? It's weird in our culture. We seem to wear stress as a badge of honor. Like the more you can do and the more you can just hustle and bustle and get through it, like the more, I don't know, productive or worthy you are. But what's the cost of that, really? If you're sucking the fun out of life and you're missing these moments and you're not getting outside wherever you are, like there's an old Zen saying that walk and it is solved. Like there's nothing that isn't made better by a walk. There's nothing that isn't made better than being in nature, putting your bare feet in the grass, getting some sunshine. Everybody knows that instinctively because it's very natural. But I think we kind of miss it and we lose sight of it because it's not as sexy as working 60 hours a week or, crushing the business goals or targets. But I think there's a way we can have balance there and do both, right?
For sure.
Beautiful. So kind of bringing it back to, Toups and everything that you're providing. What is your number one product? Because you've got a large line of products now. I guess it started with one and now you're up to, many. What's some of the biggest hitters for Toups?
Well, for sure is the tallow bombs. We have, unscented, which is just tallow and olive oil. That's it. Two
Oh, wow.
ingredients, really simple. And then we have some that have essential oils and, they smell different ways. Some are a little more feminine, some a little more lavender.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely tallow bombs. Second to that, deodorant. And maybe third to that, we have a hydrating facial stick that's tallow and emu oil and like raw beeswax. And it's just my go-to for all the things. I use it on my hands, I use it on my lips, anywhere it's in my pocket. The kids come up with a scrape. I'm like, come here and, can I put some tallow on it? Or they'll ask for it. Can you bring that and put that? So those are my personal three favorite products at Toups.
I love that. And I like that one of your biggest products is the most minimalist, like 2 ingredients, which is crazy to me because you look at anything on the supermarket shelf and it's probably at least a dozen, if not 20 plus. Yeah. All the things you can't pronounce, all the things that are not going to be healthy for your skin's microbiome and all of that stuff. So it's really, really cool. And yeah, I really appreciate not just the fact that you're bringing really healthy, health promoting products to the market, but the whole message and the whole vibe of the page and the whole community that you're cultivating with that message, and that the message extends far beyond skincare as well, that it's more holistic and mindset and food and nutrition. So where can people go to potentially try some of these products to keep up with your brand? You've got an amazing blog. Tell people where they should go, anything that's exciting that's coming up for you, anything. The floor is yours.
So you can find all of our products at toupsandco.com. Definitely follow us on Instagram. It's just at Toups Co Organics. And that's where you can find all of the things. The blog is on the homepage. There's a lot of information and education there that I think if you're just getting started, we've got some just, getting started or some how-tos on a lot of information on that page on the blog.
Love it. The revolution will be tallow flavored. Thank you very much, Emilie. Keep kicking butt and stay natural. Friends, we'll see you next time. Peace out. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Radical Health Radio. We got a fresh new podcast for you every Wednesday. If you enjoyed the show, consider liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us on your podcast platform. It helps us spread this message of radical health. We'll see you next week.